Hey there, I'm Natasha Tony, content marketing strategist for solopreneurs and small business owners. Welcome back to the Sustainable Solopreneur series. So if you have yet to catch up with this series, no worries. This is only part 2. Part 1 has already gone live, and each week for the month of September on Thursdays at 7 p.m. I will be hopping here on YouTube to discuss with you sustainable strategies for you to implement within your online service-based business. Now, part 1 was about the power of 3 and how to leverage it within your business and really simplify what it means to, develop a content strategy and give yourself creative direction or strategic direction, I should say, for your content and overall for how you operate as a solopreneur small business owner. Now, that was part 1. Part 2 is about simplifying your workflow so that you can show up and serve in a consistent way without jeopardizing your capacity as a solopreneur and small business owner. And that's what we're going to discuss today. So I'm so excited to have you here and I cannot wait to get into it. Now, would you need a pen and paper for this one? Maybe not, but you definitely don't want to multitask as much, because you definitely want to ensure that you're focusing on what it is that I'm saying and ensure that you are catching the various points. But you can always go back to catch this replay once things are done. So in the meantime, definitely drop it in the comments, what you're excited about with this part 2, what you're excited about so far with this Sustainable Solopreneur series, what you have learned so far. I would love to connect with you and to really just dive deeper into, how you lay out your content strategy and or what things that you are looking for to really, develop a sustainable, simpler content strategy for your service-based business. So again, I'm Natasha Tony, content strategist for solopreneurs, and I work one-on-one with the creative women that hire me to really design a simple and sustainable content strategy for their business, one that aligns with their business goals, one that aligns with the audience and not the algorithm, and one that really helps them build capacity to show up and serve as a team of one, aka a solopreneur. So today is all about simplifying your workflow. Now we want to discuss really what a workflow is, what is included within a workflow, and then I will really hop into what are ways to simplify your workflow. Now, just keep in mind that a workflow is just that. It's just a flow of work. It's a flow of how work gets done in your business, whether it be your content, whether it be your marketing activities, or just general tasks altogether. But when it comes to a content workflow, you want to have some specific things included within your workflow so that you stay on track and stay on course, and that you keep things simplified and sustainable as a solopreneur. Understand that content sits at the top of the list for so many of us solopreneurs because it's one of the main ways that we drive awareness to our business. We create content, whether it be stories and videos and podcasts and blog posts and YouTube videos, all to get awareness around who we are, what we do in this online space, and how we can best serve those that align with the business that we have. But your workflow really helps you, build out or really carry out the specific tasks required to either create the content and show up to serve. But I will also say that your workflow is depending on your strategy and the foundation that you have set, which is what we talked about in video 1 with the power of 3. See, once you have a set strategy or a foundation to your strategy, your workflow then should complement that. In fact, your workflow should just be amplified through the strategy and the foundation of the strategy that you have set. But when you are not clear on your strategy, when you're not clear on what you're aiming to do with your content overall, in the ways that you market your business and show up and serve, you will not be clear on really what creating effective, meaningful, and impactful content looks like. And your workflows and processes and systems are going to be all over the place because you have absolutely no idea what you're aiming for and aiming to do in your business with your content and the way that you're showing up and serving. So that's where your workflow comes into play. Once you have set the foundation for your content strategy, you then tap into your workflow. Now, what's included within your workflow? Well, a few things, especially when it comes time to create your content. You want to, identify your opportunities of impact. And don't let this confuse you. This is a clever way of saying, what are your touch points? Think of it as you're setting up shop. Now, whether you are working one-on-one in an online space or maybe you're working one-on-one in a physical space, given the work that you do, you still want to set up shop as if you have your own brick and mortar business. And online, that looks like, what are the touch points? What are the areas online that you're going to be in? Is it going to be social media that people connect with you? Is it going to be your blog? Is it going to be your YouTube channel? channel? Is it going to be your podcast, platform? Whatever the spaces that you have created and designed for people to come in contact with your brand and business, either for the first time and or just generally to engage and to build rapport with you, you have to be clear on what those spaces are and really identify why those spaces, why the blog, why the podcast, why the YouTube channel, where do these spaces fit at in your overall marketing strategy. The next thing that you need to do is that you need to determine your goals for that space. So you have the space set. It'll be your blog, it'll be your podcast, YouTube, whatever, social media. What are the goals for the space? Meaning, what is the goal, or what is the outcome, the desired outcome for the space? So whether it be social media, it's likely to attract specific people to your brand or business for the first time. It could also be a way for you to continuously build rapport and trust with your audience if they have met you in another space, or if they have met you online already in social media, but now that they come to follow you, they still want to engage with you and learn more about what your business is about and how it can best serve them. So maybe, your goal is to continuously build trust and, rapport and establish association, right? But you want to be clear on what that goal is, because it ultimately determines how you show up in that space to ensure that you're reaching that goal, and what you track and what analytics and, and data that you track to make sure that this space that you're using really is helping you get closer to your goal of whatever that is, right? So once you identify your area, once you've set goals, now it's time to determine what is the content that I'm going to be creating in the space. Obviously, you have your blog, which is primarily written-based type of content. Podcast, audio-based. YouTube is more visual, interactive type of content. But you want to determine what are the primary type of content that you're going to be creating in this space that will help you connect with your audience, inform them, educate them around your business and the services that you offer, and also drive them to take action or get closer to your goals altogether. So define your area of impact, set your goals, determine your primary content. Now, the next piece of this in your workflow is really to determine your conversation starters. So once you've identified what content you're going to create, what are you going to be talking about in that content? What is the topics that you're going to be discussing? I highly recommend that you do three things: that you audit your previous existing content to really see what type of content your audience is attractive to more, and or what particular topics or subjects that they are really, engaging in more. You have conversations, whether it be offline or online in other spaces, to really determine what people want to see, hear, or, what it is that they're looking for that aligns with, and how you can align your service or your skill set and expertise with providing them the information that they need. And then last but not least, I do recommend this, but you got to be mindful in this. Go ahead and look at your competition. When you're trying to figure out what are the conversations that you want to have and the topics that you want to discuss, you might want to also look at your competition and really see what's happening in your industry. What are some common issues and common concerns and common problems that other people are facing, from maybe competitors of yours, but that you can then chime in on the conversation and give your perspective to, right? Based off what it is that you do. So those are three areas that you can look at when it comes time to really determine, like, what are my content pillars and what am I going to be discussing, and what are the conversation starters for the content that I'm going to be creating in this space. Last but not least, within your workflow, simply determine your rate of creation. This is your schedule to creating the content, or your schedule of showing up and serving in the space that you designated. So if it's your blog, maybe you blog once a week. If it's your podcast, maybe you put out 1 to 2 podcasts a week. Or if it's YouTube, maybe you put out 1 to 2 videos a week. Maybe with social media, specifically Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook and Twitter. Those spaces particularly may want to be updated more regularly, maybe even on a day-to-day basis or a few times out of the week, but you definitely want to set a rate of creation, some type of schedule around how often and when you are going to show up in the space that you have designated. So now that you understand your workflow, hopefully that started to simplify a lot for you as a solopreneur, small business owner, because you are wearing the hat of a creator and you are likely sitting in the seat right now trying to come up with what is the content I'm going to create either tomorrow, next week, or next month for my business, and really how can I simplify this all and really define my systems and processes so that they work for me and not against me. So understand that. Let's actually transition into simplifying your workflow even more. So one of the points made within your workflow was to identify your primary content. And I want to go a little bit further here. With your primary content, understand that there are only three types of content that you can create. You can create written based content, audio based content, or you can create more visual based content. Now, keep in mind that this is nothing to complicate. It's more so to say, what is the type of content that I'm going to create to address, issues with my audience, to really educate them, inform them about who I am, what it is that I do, really start to build rapport and trust with them. What is that type of content that I need to create to connect with them, pretty much connect and cultivate a relationship with them. So again, content in itself is either written, visual, or audio based. So it's just up to you to decide on which of those forms that you're going to create for your business. Now, once you have determined what those three forms of content are, you just, again, think of this as these are the three ways in which I'm going to address my audience and the problems that they have. So that's all that you think about. So that right there simplifies your workflow so much, because you're approaching it from a lens of how do I be valuable to my audience, and what are the ways that I am valuable to my audience. I'm valuable either through my blog posts, my YouTube channel, my podcast, or my stories, or my tweets, or whatever the specific type of content that you're going to be creating based off those three forms, either written, visual, or audio based, really puts it into perspective. Now, the next thing to simplify your workflow altogether is to really start to create content around a specific marketing activity, or to implement a marketing activity within your business, either on a monthly basis, or maybe you have something bi-weekly, whatever the schedule or the rate at which you want to do this. So you want to really start to develop marketing activities, because it really helps you then create content around those activities specifically, versus creating one-off pieces of content to share, and market your business. So just think of it as you break it down every 30 days. You focus on one specific activity. Maybe you have a series this month. Maybe you do a workshop next month. Maybe you do a masterclass, the month after that. Whatever the marketing activity that you want to use to actually draw it in and to really start to move people along, move your audience along this journey of the know, like, and trust factor, so that they go from just having association and awareness about you to really start to trust you, and eventually you empower them to make a decision to buy or invest in your services. You want to make sure that that marketing activity really fits and aligns to where people are at in that journey of knowing you, and that opportunity, that marketing activity gives people the opportunity to move up or move to the next step in that journey, right? So I'm thinking, if, let's say, for the next 30 days, you decide to have a series, maybe it's an email series, blog series, whatever the series that you're hosting, and maybe you are trying to really get people interested in signing up for your email list, or let's step back, let's say they're signing up for a workshop that you're having, and this workshop is going to teach them how to do something, and you want them to engage in that workshop. Really, maybe it introduces them to a framework or a system that you use with your one-on-one clients. So you then want to introduce that to your audience. Now, whether people are finding you for the first time, or maybe there are people that are interested in investing in your services, but they just have not been convinced yet, this workshop or webinar or the series, could really help them, push them over the edge of making that empowered decision to work with you. So your content then is really centered around that activity. So you're creating blog posts, podcasts, email, whatever, but it's all centered around that specific marketing activity. And so now you're not creating content for the sake of saying, I have to publish something each week or each day. No, I'm creating content because there's something that I'm promoting. There's something that I am trying to get my audience to do. You have your aim, what you want your content to do, your goals that you have set. So your content has to align with that. And by making that align, you then say, if this is the activity, these are the specific forms of content I'm going to be creating. The next is really just developing a specific schedule, which is step number 3 in simplifying your workflow. So the first step was identify your primary content. The second step was focus on a specific marketing activity. The third step is to, maintain a content creation schedule. And with that, you want to create a schedule a schedule that is really geared to laying out your workflow on a weekly, monthly, even a quarterly basis. Now, I've discussed here on my YouTube channel already what my specific content creation schedule looks like and how it helps me amplify and really increase my capacity as a solopreneur to create content while also still showing up and serving in a way that feels aligned and authentic to me. But your content creation schedule, will look different, but it should have a few of these things in mind. And 3 things that it should have in mind. 1, it should provide you with a weekly, layout of like your themed content days. So with your content that you're creating, maybe Mondays you're creating this specific content, or Monday this is the type of content that you put out. Maybe an email, it may be a story, it may be a podcast episode. Maybe then you blog once a week, so maybe every Tuesday you put out a new blog post, or every Thursday it's a new YouTube video or podcast episode. But whatever those theme days are, you want to make those clear and really make those evident within your workflow. The second thing that you need to do within maintaining a schedule is really determine the timeline of your marketing activity, because that then determines the type of content that you need to put out at specific times. So if you have a marketing activity that's happening at the end of the month, most of your content for that month is around that, it's really just amplifying and promoting that marketing activity. So you might want to, decide on what does that schedule look like for you to get people primed and ready to, engage and participate in that marketing activity. But you definitely want to do this on a monthly basis of saying, okay, if this is my activity for the month, then what are, when am I having this marketing activity, or when is this taking place, and what content needs to be created either before it and also afterward. Now, last but not least, really dives into the timeline of like a marketing activity and how often you are going to be creating your content. It's more so setting up 21-day promotional content periods. So what I mean by that is, every 21 days you should focus on hardcore content, whether it be around a marketing activity, whether it just be around just content in general, if you're not doing a specific marketing activity. But I highly recommend that you do. But you should set up a 21-day promotional period. And what that means is that every 21 days you should go hardcore content. Now, with that, you say if it's 30 days in a month, 3 solid weeks I'm given to creating and putting out content to market my business. The last week or so, you lay off of creating content. In fact, you spend time either repurposing that content and putting it out, but you also take the time to audit and assess and really to, dive into your numbers and really understand what content did well, what didn't do well, really start to audit and assess, because it leaves room for you to then plan for your next 21 days. So again, I went in a little deeper with, content creation schedule, as a solopreneur here on my YouTube channel already. You should see a link here on this video that points to that, so that you can, refer to that video. But you want to set up your schedule in a way that amplifies and really, aligns to how you work and things of that sort. So 21-day periods for me are great. I can do 3 solid weeks, but I then need some time to lay off of content, and I need time to also audit, assess, because again, I'm a solopreneur. I'm doing this solely myself. So you need to develop that time and maintain the capacity to not only creating the content, but managing the content and repurposing and, optimizing it and things of that sort, and auditing and assessing what you need so that you can then plan for the next round of content that you put out. So I truly hope that all of this has certainly helped you in simplifying your workflow, especially as a solopreneur. Just a recap, what needs to go in your workflow are 5 things. You need to define your areas of impact, meaning your touch points. You need to set goals. You need to determine your primary content. You need to clarify what your content pillars or conversation starters are going to be. And you need to determine your rate of creation, meaning when are you going to show up and create or share content in that space. Now, how do you simplify all of this to make sense for you? You focus on your primary content. What are the 3 forms of content? Written, visual, or audio that you're going to be putting out? What is the one activity that you're going to be doing for the entire month? And then you want to maintain a schedule on a weekly, monthly basis. But even take it a step further and do a quarterly basis as well, so that you understand this is what you need to do, each week and each month, and per quarter it's just 21 days, every 30 days is 21 days of promotional content and 7 days of auditing and assessing. Again, I truly hope that this definitely helped you. If it did, go ahead and leave a comment below. Let me know, rate pretty much what stood out for you the most in this video. And if you did not catch video 1 in the Sustainable Solopreneur series, please do so. Go ahead and understand why and what the power of 3 is and how to leverage it in your business. In the meantime, I will catch you back here Thursday, next Thursday actually, at 7 p.m.